Hey everyone, it's Friday, which means it's time for Short Fiction Friday, and also Happy Halloween. Since this episode falls on Halloween, I was really hoping to get all horror short stories, but that wasn't the case. This week I read Cry Wolf by Basil Copper, Stage to Lordsburg by Ernest Haycox, and The Misfits by Arthur Miller. I'll start off with a review of Basil Copper's Cry Wolf, since that's the only horror short story I read. Cry Wolf is about 9 pages long, and it first appeared in 1974 in the anthology book Vampires, Werewolves, and Other Monsters, released by Curtis Books and edited by Roger Elwood. This short story is really simple. There's some suspicious goings on in a small town. Some people suspect a wolf or even a werewolf. And it's kind of written like a murder mystery. Like, what is this creature? Is it a werewolf? And if it is a werewolf, who is the werewolf? When I was reading about Basil Copper a little bit, I saw that he did mostly write murder mysteries, I think. And you could really tell that background, because I would say it focuses heavily on the mystery element. And while it is horror as well, it does really focus on this question of who or what is this beast. At 9 pages, this story absolutely flew by. Really easy read. Honestly, I think it could have been even better if it was expanded a bit. But this was good. I like this one. Okay, next up I'll review 2 of the short stories that appear in this anthology. First of all, I'll do The Misfits by Arthur Miller. This was first published in 1957 in the October issue of Esquire magazine. It follows 3 characters, Gay Langland, Perce, and Guido, as they try to capture some feral horses which they want to sell for meat. And the entire short story, which is quite lengthy, it's just under 40 pages. The entire thing is about their process of capturing the horses. And it's very much a character study. Like, who are these 3 guys? What are their motivations? Where are they at in life? This isn't the kind of short story you can really even spoil, because it's just about how our characters interact with each other and what do they think of their current job. How are they thinking about capturing these horses? This story isn't set in the era that we would typically think of when we think of Westerns. It doesn't give an exact date, but I think it is supposed to be like a contemporary, so set in the 1950s, I think. Reading between the lines a little bit, thematically, you can tell that this is about the decline of rural industry and kind of the decline of cowboys in American culture, right? Because these are, as the title suggests, the 3 characters are misfits. They're barely scraping by doing this pretty awful job. Yeah, the story was excellent. I really liked it. Okay, last short story I read was Ernest Haycox, Stage to Lordsburg, which also appears in this classic Westerns anthology. It was first published in the April 10th, 1937 issue of Collier's Weekly. The basic story of this one is that it follows a stagecoach filled with many different passengers as it travels from one town to another, and it's under threat by a potential Native American attack. The 2 main characters are Henriette and Malpace Bill. I don't know how to pronounce that word, Malpace. And as the story progresses, they form a relationship. This story was the basis for a late 30s film called Stagecoach, very famous film. And honestly, if I hadn't seen the film, I would probably be quite confused by this short story. The characters are not set up particularly well, and many of the characters are referred to by like their job only. So you have like the army girl, the gambler, the whiskey drummer, the Englishman. Most of these characters you feel like you don't get to know at all. They might as well almost not be there, and maybe the short story could have been simplified to just Bill and Henriette. In the movie, that's actually handled way better as kind of an ensemble cast. In the movie, the characters are set up way better, and there's some potential tension between the characters, right? Because some of the characters really don't approve of Henriette, who is a prostitute or was a prostitute. They don't really get into it too much in the movie or in the short story, probably because of the era. They couldn't really describe that very much. But it's made relatively clear that's what she is. So that's a source of tension. They don't approve of her. And a lot of our other characters also provide tension, right? The gambler in the movie, he's quite a shady character. You know, he's maybe up to no good. He's probably cheated some people out of their money. So he could be trouble. In the movie, there's a doctor who's an alcoholic, and he's constantly drinking. So again, that's a source of tension. In the short story, like none of this is done very well. There's no tension between the passengers. The Native American threat, which should have been a source of tension, is also pretty poorly handled. In the movie, for example, they have a army escort for part of their journey. So you know that everyone's taking the possibility of an attack quite seriously. In the short story, it's just breezed over. Sorry to compare this to the movie so much, but the movie handled all this, I think, a lot better. And if I hadn't seen the movie, I would have been pretty confused and probably even more underwhelmed by this story. So yeah, not a very good one. Okay, and if I were to rank these stories, Arthur Miller's The Misfits was great, excellent. I'm going to put that number 5 on my list, just under O. Henry's story. Basil Copper's Cry Wolf was pretty good. I'm going to put that number 8 above Ramsey Campbell's story. Stage to Lordsburg. I didn't enjoy this one at all, so it won't make my list. I'm at the stage now where I've got quite a few stories on my list. So for now, I'll just do a top 10, and some stories won't make the list. And in future weeks, I can expand it to a top 15 or a top 20 or whatever. And we'll have, at the end, a really, really solid list. All right, let's pick some new stories. All right, I'm going to randomly select some more short stories. The way this works is very simple. This is book 1 through to book 6 here. The 6-sided die selects the book, then the 12-sided die selects the story within the book. All right, let's see what I get. One and 4. So that's the Western one again. And it's story 4. I feel like I'm getting the Westerns quite a lot. 1, 2, skipping over these 2, I've already read them. 3, 4, Zane Grey. And that is 22 pages. Okay, so the story is The Great Slave by Zane Grey, which is great. I've read some Zane Grey before, And even though it was middling, I definitely want to give him another chance. I'm going to keep rolling the dice until I get to 50 pages total. Book 6 and Story 4, so that's Dark Love. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're reading Hanson's Radio by John Lutz, and that's 13 pages. I've not heard of this author. All right, we're up to 35 pages so far. That's book 4, story 12. So we've got that body horror book. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Walking Wounded by Michael Marshall Smith. And that's 21 pages, which takes us over the 50-page minimum. All right, I'll put the stories up on the screen here. Go read these short stories if you can find them. And I'll see you all next week. Thanks for watching. See ya.